26. That's how old this sector is. Started in Minnesota in 1991. And the roots of it, Al Shanker. And a lot of this information is in your deck online because I'm trying to gonna normalize our time as best I can to get us on schedule. I'm not gonna go slide by slide. I'm gonna encapsulate to meet our objectives, which are listed on the PowerPoint. So Al Shanker, head of the teachers union back then, said, hey, what about teacher-led schools? And so a lot of times folks go back to that type of conversation. His vision for how charter schools became. So 26 years old, something you should remember. That's the age of our charter school sector. 25 is what? Anyone want to take a guess? The slide up will help you. California. So I want to say this at the start. It was great to hear a little bit of your stories. First, I thank you for your commitment to public education, to education as a whole, to our youngsters. And I want to tell you that I applaud you for wanting to be a part of making this work even better. To be a part of the function of the work, not the dysfunction that you hear about sometimes. And to turn some of those painful experiences into positive results for our youngsters. I'm not saying the pain's not going to be there, but to what end? That those youngsters get a better education. And sometimes that's by recommending yes to your board, and sometimes that's by standing with courage on the merits with integrity, saying no, recommending no to your board. And while we can't control that final decision, we can certainly control a job well done to make it hopefully easy for them to make their decision. And so the history of the charter schools movement, I believe, and I want to share this story that I've heard from California, that as you see here, there were bills that were presented. And at that time, I hear in the context, the voucher context is very relevant to this in California. Some folks want to say, let's go full vouchers, and others say, you know what, don't want to do that, let's come in the middle somewhere. Charter schools came out of that discussion as well. And Minnesota obviously was in the backdrop. And so I understand that at one point, Senator Gary Hart went to a Senate Education Committee meeting as they were considering the bill. Dropped a stack of books on the table. And as I've heard the story, said, this is our education code. All this red tape is hamstringing our schools. Let's try something different. Let's, in a sense, pilot reducing the red tape, giving schools more autonomy for increased accountability. Apparently passed, and the rest is history. And so another key point is the charter school idea is about saying, it's not about saying we don't like our traditional public schools. In that time, the context was our scores are low. We need to do something different for our kids. 10 years prior, the nation at risk. And so it was a bit of a revolutionary idea, but also part of the history is not vouchers, something else. And 25 years later now in California, we are over 1,000 charter schools. In LA Unified, we're serving 280 charter schools, about 130,000 students. Okay, in the state of California, it's approaching 1 million students. And so we can have debates, and historically there have been debates about the role of charter schools in public education, whether it's in California or the other 40 plus states where there are laws. But I come back to this in our role. If we're going to be stewards in this work and to help take this profession further in the next 100 years, I often ask myself, parents have made a choice. How are we going to honor that choice? How are we honoring that choice by the work we do?